Good morning. I'm Mark Mitchell with the Lake Houston Economic Development Partnership, and welcome to the last in a series of our Coffee Talks for 2018. I've got two very special guests here, but before I introduce them, I'd like to say thank you to two individuals that have really made the Coffee Talk successful this year. Number one is Trey Hill with Edward Jones. Trey took a chance on us and was our inaugural sponsor for the Coffee Talk series this year, and truly appreciate his support going forward. And then also want to thank Sam Schrade and DNA Studios. Sam's done a great job of making us look thinner and smarter and younger through the whole process. So Sam, thank you for being so gracious with your efforts and support as far as the Coffee Talk series as well. And our first guest this morning is Mayor Merle Aaron, City of Humble. Mayor, good morning, and
Good
thank you
morning.
for being here.
Good morning, Mark.
And then
Good to be here.
also City Manager of Humble, Jason Stuebe. So you get tongue-tied, you did all that and then got tongue-tied at the end of it. So thank you both for being here this morning. Hope
Our
you
pleasure.
both had a great holiday and looking forward to a great new year. And part of what we want to do is really talk about the direction of the City of Humble for really about the last year and a half. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about Harvey. We're going to talk about the city's direction moving forward. We're going to talk economic development. And so a big part of this is really the leadership that's been exhibited here over the past year and a half. So Mayor, if you could just kind of tell us from a post-Harvey perspective how things are going kind of moving forward with the City of Humble. And I don't think people understand the total impact that Harvey had on the City of Humble. We talk a lot about kind of pockets all over the greater Houston area, but Lake Houston and in particular, Humble and Kingwood were hit specifically and very hard. So can you speak a little bit about some of the stuff that's been positive moving forward as far as post-Harvey recovery?
Well, first of all is we live by sales tax, and so we had about 60 plus businesses, large and small, that were closed. And the city's main effort was to make sure that they all were going to reopen. But more than that, we wanted to give them as much assistance as we could, Mark. We tried very desperately to be there when they needed us, and we wanted to provide as much economic relief as we could for permits or anything that was required for them to do it. We also had around 400 homes. We have helped them as far as making sure that the debris was out of their yard to keep that from being a situation that they had to handle. We've tried very hard to protect them with our police. We set up our roadblocks to not let anyone in and out, and we kept those in there for a couple of months, or more than that, about 4 months. And so we want to make sure that our citizens are safe. We want to make sure that they want to live in this area. You know, every time it rains, we do what we call the River Watch. And
we've got a River Watch going on.
Yeah, we
right
have it
now.
going on right now. That's true. That's so true. And they're starting to become a bit more relaxed because they understand now there's efforts to lower that pool in order to protect both Humble and Kingwood and the Humble area. And it extends way to the south of us. And so, you know, we're doing all we can. A lot of it is very political, and some of those things we have to go through the political, process. Yes, sir. But overall, you know, all of our businesses are back online. The ones that were closed and that left, others have come in and taken their place. We looked at different things on how in the future to attract more business to our area, because our area is now surrounded by developments, and so we want to make sure that we keep up.
So with that said, Jason, you've been working on some specific things. The City of Humble is participating in the Harris County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Representatives are attending that. What have been, I think there's a pretty significant project that you guys have got underway from EDA funding. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that came to be?
Yeah, so we, one of the first avenues that we wanted to look at was the chronic flooders, particularly in North Shire, there at the bottom of Field Tree. And these were the same houses that they flooded, Tax Day flood, Memorial Day flood, and obviously Harvey with everybody else. And so we took kind of a page out of the county's playbook and said, okay, let's try looking at buying these things out, and we went after the grant money that's been made available to us, but we actually had made kind of an internal decision that said whether or not we get this grant money or not for this particular project, we're going to make an offer on these houses. And so we've just received word here in the last week or so that the paperwork is sitting on Chief Nimkids' desk at TDEM over in Austin, waiting for signature. Once we have that, we've got contracts ready to go to buy those properties, and we'll turn it into a little pocket park, and never shall flood a house again, hopefully. So, but we've taken multiple approaches. You know, we're looking at some additional funding to clean up the ditches and kind of take some ownership of the drainage ways through there where it backs up from the river into the neighborhood, and then some other hot spots around town. But really, we're in a very unique position in that we're small. Okay, we're a very small piece of the puzzle and a very small piece of the pie. And there's just the things that we can fix are not going to be these gigantic projects that need to happen. That's going to happen at the federal and the state level. But we're doing everything that we can with what's been given to us, and we obviously we 100% support everything that is going on with the river in terms of dredging, and the plea for three. I mean, everything that the chamber has been involved in, and you have been involved in the task force, and then the laundry list goes on and on and on. We're all highly supportive of that because we, as the mayor always says, what's good for Kingwood is good for Humble, and what's good for Humble is good for Kingwood. We're kind of all in this one together.
Right. Well, thank you for that. And to transition now, and I think one of the very important things that you all have been doing, and Jason, you might want to speak to this first, is that you initiated the city's first comp plan with the mayor and council's approval. Talk about how that is important relative to where we live, and kind of where right now we are literally looking at the river. We've got rain since the last 24 hours, and the banks are rising and all that good stuff. So talk about how important having this comp plan in place and starting that process is from a leadership perspective.
Yeah, modern city management, I mean, really lives on strategic planning and comprehensive planning. And the fact that we had not done that yet, I wouldn't say it was alarming, but it was certainly unusual to have a city even of our size not have one in place. And so one of the first things that when I came in, I told the mayor and council that we need to do so. We need to plan for our future and get an idea, not just what's going on today, but what are we doing 5, 10, 15, 20 years out, and start thinking in a very broad sense of where the city of Humble is and where do we want the city of Humble to be. And so it took some time pulling it together, but we here in the last about 4 months we hit it really hard. We met the council huddled up, and we kind of laid out kind of the broad general vision that what they wanted to see Humble become, and then we brought the staff in twice, and the staff kind of took ownership of that, and they accepted the fact that the council said, okay, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to be. Now how are we going to do that and implement that in the most effective and efficient way possible? And so at the end of the day, we've got a starting point, a starting document that'll probably be, we'll approve that in January formally. But after that, it's a plan that plans for more plans in a sense, and what we found, because there's just so many things that we hadn't been doing, that we realize that we have to do. I mean, we've got to look at doing now a comprehensive plan. We're probably more than likely going to be looking at zoning now. We're going to even get it down to the department levels of doing strategic business plans for the departments, so that they can plan their work and their costs, so that we can start, it's not all hitting us all at once in one budget year. We can start phasing some things in. That's the end goal. And so, kind of what I like to tell people now is, we've planned our work, and now it's time to work our plan.
Right. So Mayor, with that process, what was the most surprising thing going through the strategic planning process? for you? Because as city council was there, you were looking for, common themes, you were looking at a common direction. What was the thing that jumped out at you the most as you went through that process?
Well, let me back up just a little bit, Mark. When I became mayor, I went to each of the departments with the idea of finding out, do you have a plan yourself for your department, for yourself, and for your employees, and what you can do for the city? And as each one of them told me, yes, I do, but it wasn't inclusive of all the other departments.
Right.
And so what Jason is talking about is we brought those all those ideas together at one time, and we've and listened to each person or each department's ideas on what they want for their department, what they want for themselves.
Right.
All of them want to retire at some point, but
But some of you can't.
well, that's true. That's so true. But the thing is that we wanted to come up with some goals, that we set goals for the city and for each of the departments. But we also wanted to make sure that our vision was the same, that we're not all going in different directions. And so it's worked out real good the last few months. Jason has done an outstanding job there. So.
Well, he's been, from an economic development standpoint, we'll touch on that in a little bit. That's something that's fairly new and fertile ground for
right.
the city as well. And that kind of segues us to really the retail kind of emphasis of the city of Humble and what you all are doing to kind of balance that, if you will, from a long-term perspective. And Jason, if you could kind of speak to the retail piece and then what you guys are looking at doing.
Yeah, we, like the mayor said earlier, we live and die by sales tax. The market goes up, we're great. Market goes down, we get nervous. I'm one of the few people in the month of December that looks outside towards the mall, and when I see traffic, I'm actually really, really happy that no one can get anywhere in the city.
We had that conversation.
Yeah, I was nervous a little bit last week when I went over by the mall, and I was like, there's no way I should be getting this fast going this fast around here, and so I was nervous then, but it picked back up. But we, because we have that reliance on retail and reliance on sales tax that drives everything that we do from a revenue standpoint, it's vitally important that we not put all of our eggs in one basket and start thinking critically about, okay, how can we, what are the tools available to us to diversify that? And I think one of the ways we've been able to do that and with the assistance of the EDP is through start looking at doing some of these one-off development deals that bring in primary employers, that bring in logistics, the spec space, warehouses, distribution, all of that. It's kind of a different niche, so to speak, but it helps us in terms of varying, so we're not always reliant, on the mall or on 1960 retail or all the big boxes on 59.
And I think that's the other thing too, is that you look at sales tax, and sales tax gets impacted much more severely in weather events than ad valorem. And so when you're flooded and your businesses are closed down, your revenue stream closes down. But even with a readjustment of the ad valorem, you still are able to collect some level of revenue for the city, whereas when the roads are flooded, it's kind of tough to make ends meet as far as pushing forward. So I applaud you all for really looking at that and then trying to equalize that, if you will, so there's more of a steady stream that comes in.
Yeah, and I don't think it can be understated, how critical the situation was there in the first months after Harvey. Once we get through the trauma of the initial weeks and that kind of that first month, and we had a moment to sit down and think, okay, what are the long-term implications of this? We were sitting in a room going, are we going to be down 25, 30, 50%, on revenues? We just didn't know, and we were all kind of collectively holding our breaths until December, when we start getting those tax receipts from the months, because they back up on the state comptroller side. But fortunately, we were actually very lucky. We were down, I think, 11% in that first month after Harvey, which is a significant. That's a significant drop, but certainly not where we thought we were going. And then it kind of precipitously dropped there until December. But then starting in December of last year, we've been up every month since for 12 consecutive months, and we finished out the fiscal year with grossing the highest amount in sales tax revenue that we ever had. Now, I kind of always caution that in saying, okay, is this kind of an artificial Harvey bubble of people rebuilding their lives and their homes? Is this going to settle back down? Haven't really seen that yet, so this could be the new normal. Don't know yet. Probably going to take another year of looking at data coming in, but it's an interesting time and a very nervous time for me. So.
Well, with that too, we talked about kind of the transition and doing the economic development one-offs. And so one thing that was really cool for me is that in November, City Council passed its first official economic development deal in the form of the nominating resolution for CDI Energy Products, which has been an Humboldt company for 30, 40, 50 years, for a long time. And that for me, and we've been working on that since March or April of this year, and that project is going to be somewhere between 30 and 50 million dollars, and end up being at a 550 person job level once they add another 120 employees. So Jason, you kind of touched on this. I mean, that's bringing in tax base, it's bringing in new retail purchasers. We've also talked to a company, a food processing company out of California that's looking to relocate in our area as well. So talk to me about the economic development piece and kind of the longer term vision for you all as well.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing there is just realizing, and the council having the foresight and the realization of the spin-off economy that a deal like that creates. And the importance of keeping someone like CDI, a primary employer, in the city, because they were looking around, they had options, and we certainly did not want to lose them. And not only did we not lose them, we also gained quite a bit, and with zero impact to our local residents or taxpayers. So that was clearly a win-win. Going forward, though, it's like you said earlier. It's all about balancing, the retail that we have, the influx of logistics development, retaining and attracting primary employers, and then also taking care of Main Street and downtown. And Mayor can speak a little bit more to that.
Well, we're not really a residential area, and it's changing pretty rapidly because we look to these new businesses coming in to offset what we had expected the growth. And so these new businesses are doing two things for us. They are bringing in the jobs, Mark, but they're also giving us an avenue that we can travel to where we know that we can reach a goal in the future, because today we see our online sales are, they're everywhere. And so we have to be conscious of the fact that our walk-in store point of purchase is changing to the airways. Everybody calls in, and which is easy because of all of the traffic and all that it goes with it. But as they come online, then we can look at our ad valorem tax, and we can adjust that to offset some of this growth, because even though they're coming in and we have a lot of opportunities for them, we also have to provide for them infrastructure. We have to provide police protection and fire protection. And so when we do that in these massive buildings that are built, then we have to have equipment that we can actually protect them with. And so everything has to come in and play, and all the pieces have to be put together in the puzzle to make it work. And I think that we're looking, and we have a council that will listen, and we have a council that will look to the future, and they're very progressive. And so I think we're fortunate that it can all work together. Jason, again, let me say, Jason is a good planner, and we listen to him, and so, but things are working out very well for us.
Well, I mean, and I think that speaks to you've got 1 million square feet of spec space under construction right now, and that speaks to the developer's confidence and comfort in the leadership, and that's both council and city manager. And it doesn't hurt that you've got one of the lowest ad valorem tax rates in the area as well. So as I'm pitching economic development, I look at baseline numbers, because tax abatements are the buzz, right? Tax abatement tax. But if you're already 50% below the area ad valorem and you're only going up incrementally over time, then the other communities are going to be going up incrementally over time as well. So you're always going to have that delta
Yeah, we have that.
where you don't have to worry about getting a
Exactly.
tax
Yeah.
abatement because you get an automatic one by being
Yeah.
in the city
In
of
the
Humble.
city,
Right.
Your economic development incentive is to just locate in the city of Humble. I mean,
Exactly,
it's
right.
really easy.
Right. Yeah. And so, and the flip side of it is when we get creative, like with CDI, we can kind of kill two birds with one stone. We can
Absolutely.
figure out how to get state incentives and still make it attractive for businesses to come here. So I think that's a big piece as far as the opportunity pushing forward. I'm really excited about the Air Park 59 and what's going on right there. The Vital Heart and Vein. There's a couple of other things that are going on. They're going to be going on retail from there,
Right.
and then we've got all the spec space. So that's going to be a pretty big hub. And then working with TxDOT and kind of planning things out or whatever. So it's been a real pleasure to kind of work with Jason, kind of pushing forward on the economic
Yes,
development
yes.
initiatives, because there is so much going on. And so, and with that, we can kind of transition to kind of, downtown redevelopment, revitalization. And Mayor, kind of speak to what your vision is for downtown and what you see coming forth.
Well, when we started the downtown improvement projects, it was to clean up downtown, and it's worked extremely well. We've had just so much interest in it. We continue to expand that, but the downtown itself, that's a work in progress right there. We have to, first of all, have a reason for a person that wants to invest money downtown to have a reason to do it. And the bottom line is that he wants a bottom line.
Right.
He wants to make money if he's going to move downtown. It's not just to beautify the downtown area. And so what we have to do is we have to offer him something that he can get something out of it.
Right.
And that's just simple,
Economics,
basic
right.
economics. That's that, right? And so whenever we talk to people downtown, and there are occasionally people come in and they want to relocate or something, but right now what's mostly moving downtown is insurance companies, lawyers' offices, and things like that. And that's okay. That's good. That's a start.
Right.
But I think that downtown has a future. And
And Jason and I have talked about the diamond in the rough aspect of downtown.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at downtown Humble, you just see potential. I mean, it's really a blank canvas. And a lot of people, myself included, we look at downtown and then we look at someplace like the Heights or Edo, and we say there's a blueprint right there. You don't have to reinvent this wheel. And we're actually starting to see that happening. We're kind of reaching a critical mass of people reinvesting into their businesses, into their homes. And I now have a gentleman coming in looking at building 2,000-3,000 square foot homes in the heart of downtown. That's the first construction. I mean, there's been one or two new houses built in downtown in the last few years, but not to this scale. So you're kind of seeing. I know gentrification is kind of a taboo word, but it's downtown is kind of getting its second breath of life back into it, and I think that's a direct result of the funds that we've put into the improvement program.
I was going to ask you about the facade program and how that's pushing forward and helping.
Yeah, so we've probably given out by now, off the top of my head, around $300,000 in grant funds over the 3 fiscal years, 3.5 fiscal years.
And that's matching funds.
Yeah.
Right, so that's really a double.
Yeah,
at least a double.
and
Right.
quite a few. And the interesting thing is, you get people that take the full 10,000, so they're spending 20,000 plus. But we've done some as few as a couple $1,000s. It just needed a little love, a little paint, and a little rotten wood replaced. And we're able to help those people. And kind of the way that I look at it is, would you have done this otherwise? And the answer typically is no. They wouldn't have been able to do it, or they wouldn't have been able to do it as well as they did. Right. And so we're kind of, to be on this side of the table for that and to see that happen is really, it's one of the more enjoyable things that I get to do, actually, to be honest with you.
One of the neat things too, Mark, is that people can build a new home, and when it's completed, they actually get a $10,000 check just to relocate down in that area. And so if you build a home that's $180,000, $200,000, you're going to get something back.
Right.
And
But I mean, and
plus
that's,
low tax.
that's closing costs or commission. That's not an insubstantial amount of money. That's a nice chunk.
That's a nice
as
chunk.
far as helping offset. It may, I mean, that's something where you definitely are going to get people drawn in to look and kind of figure that out. So with the development that's going on now, does the city have targeted areas that you're a great example to me is north of FM 1960,
Right.
where you redid all the infrastructure on that north side. So are there other areas you're targeting for longer term? Because I think that turned out fantastic, and you're starting to see people now in turn take better care of their homes because they've got better street frontage. And so are there other areas that you're focusing on now as far as long term going forward?
Well, we're looking at the whole city. You know, we're not going to exclude anyone, but you know, we also have to wait for our funds to develop. But we've expanded the areas over, you know, just to the east of us, and so I think the Lakeland area would be a good area to expand into in the future. Hopefully that will be an area that we can. The Meeks Road area is also an area, and so there's areas that we've looked at. There's a couple of developers. What's the band over there on South Houston Avenue? That wants to build a model home there.
Oh yeah, the EcoCast.
EcoCast,
folks. Yeah.
and that's kind of exciting right
Oh,
there.
absolutely.
You get one of those in place, and I think that will go. And so there's, you know, there's just so many things out there that you know, that be hard to just pinpoint one thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as we wrap up, one question for each of you as far as what, and Jason, I'll start with you and let the mayor finish. So for 2019, what's the thing that you think is going to be critically important for making goals and objectives attainable for 2019?
I think sitting down with each of the department heads and with all of the departments and putting our heads together and saying, okay, now that we have established this broad 30,000-foot view of the city, let's start drilling down into the details of that. Start putting me together. What is your capital plan for your human capital, your physical assets, and your projects that you foresee coming in the next 5 years? And let's start, you know, phasing this stuff in. So really, it's going to be all about actually implementing the plan that we've just adopted. That's where my eye is going to be at pretty much for most of the year until we get that knocked out.
Okay. And the mayor, for 2019, what's critically important for you in City Council?
Well, you know, I think that we have our metro situation. I want to make sure that we're more aware of what takes place there. They're looking at a big bond election, which will affect us. Metro is a very important part of our life because they take one of our pennies and we get a little bit back.
I think the whole metro story,
Yeah,
statewide, that's a whole new, that might be a coffee
That's another
talk.
coffee talk.
That might be a
That's another
coffee
one.
talk for 2019, but please.
But as we start into a new, you know, Austin situation there, you know, we have property caps over there, and they call it property caps. I call it revenue caps.
Right.
But you know, we have that situation coming up. The political part of it. We have two congresspersons in our district, Sheila Jackson Lee and also Dan Crenshaw. I want to make sure we have contacts with them. You know, we have a new county judge who allocates money out. We need to make those contacts. We have a new precinct in Adrian Garcia, just to our east, and so we have my need this coming year will be more political than just about anything else, because I need to make contact with each of these situations. Our mayor in the city of Houston, he has his hands full, but one thing about him, he's always available. You know, you can call him and someone will answer. It's mostly at one of his aides. If I send a letter, I always get a response, and so I appreciate that. But mine will be mostly political. I'm also wanting each of the departments to have their goals and have them set, and you know, restaff as many of the vacant positions as we need to. It's an ongoing thing. You know, it's just one of the things that's the political part of it.
Right. And with the recent elections, there has been quite a bit of transition. And so I think we're all excited and anxious at the same time as far as building
Right.
these partnerships and being
Right.
able to move forward.
Right.
I mean, given the amount of work that still has to take place as a result of Harvey, we need to reforge those relationships and make sure we're all on the same page. So, Mayor, thank you so much for taking time out to be here with me this
My
morning.
pleasure.
Jason, thank you as well.
Thank
My pleasure.
I want to thank Trey Hill again with Edward Jones for sponsoring the 2018
Yes.
Coffee Talk series this year. And then looking forward to the series next year. And then Sam Schrade and DNA Studios for being such a
Absolutely.
great host, and again, making us look younger, thinner, and smarter. So thank you very much. Happy holidays and Happy New Year.
Thank you.